Am I the a-hole for telling my golden child brother that I wouldn't help him and that it was time to take the consequences of his actions? So, I'm the oldest child of my family. I have a sister, Kate, and she is the middle child, and a younger brother, Heise, and he have always been the classic golden child of the family. I can stay here days telling the episodes that can paint him, but I can only say that the day I turned 18 and went out of my family house, it was the best day of my life. At the other side, Kate and I always had a great relationship, and we are extremely close. In fact, we live near and we always support each other in everything. Our common trait is the pure hate for Heise and his diva character. Add the fact that our family is very wealthy, and then the square is done. Our parents always tried to cover up his unbearable and diva attitude by, for example, silencing the gossip news of our country full of Heise's bullshits. This episode to me explained well his attitude. 3 years ago, Heise was arrested because he set on fire a police car because he thought it was funny. Fortunately, no one was in the car, but my parents did a titanic job to cover up this story, and fortunately, almost no one knows about this. This is just a small episode, but it shows you his absolutely idiot and spoiled character. So during the years, my parents always closed an eye on him and always treated him like a king, while they treated us with disdain. Anyway, the issue is that they finally opened their eyes on Heise's behavior and tried to discipline him, but after years of no results, they threw him out of their house. Finally, karma hit him hard. But the thing is that Heise now is stressing me and Kate to help him to find a house and a job. But we refused immediately, so now he is staying at a friend's house. But even his friend is tired of him and of being called poor, because his friend isn't rich as we are. So I'm spending days being happy that Heise finally have what he deserves, and everyone is treating him like he always treated others. Because yes, another of his things is being the classic rich snob that treats others from top to the bottom just because of our family wealth. But recently, Heise started insisting, especially with me, so I just exploded, and during a call told him that finally karma hit him hard, and our parents realized too late that he was a spoiled brat and asshole, and me and Kate for sure wouldn't help him not even under torture, so he needed to grow up and take the consequences of his spoiled character and behavior. We argued a lot, and then I just hung up. Now the thing is that while Kate supports me, my parents told me that I should be more understanding with Hayes and help him anyway, because Heise is always my brother, and we help the family. So yes, I even argued with them. So am I the a-hole for not helping my spoiled brother? Update. So things have gone from heated to scorching. After that explosive call with Heise, I thought I'd heard the last of him for a while. But no, drama loves company, and Heise is the king of drama. Here's where the plot thickens. Kate and I ended up having a surprise guest over coffee one morning. You guessed it, Heise. But he wasn't alone. He dragged along a friend I hadn't seen before, someone from his rich kid circle, probably thinking it would somehow sway our decision. This friend, Alex, turned out to be a pretty decent person, surprisingly unaffected by the wealth, and actually embarrassed by Heise's attitude during the whole meetup. Kate was ready to throw Heise out on his ear, but I caught something in Heise's eye. Was it desperation? A hint of realization? Hard to say with him. Still, I decided to lay down the law. I told him, listen, Heise, if you want any help from us, it's about time you start making some real changes. No more of this spoiled brat act. You need to earn your way back into everyone's good graces. Not just ours, but your friends too. Heise actually seemed taken aback. Maybe it was the first time anyone had set real conditions for him. He agreed, albeit reluctantly, and Alex chimed in, promising to help keep him on track. It was like witnessing a miracle unfold. The next few weeks were like watching a reality TV show. Heise trying to get a job was a comedy of errors. He had no resume to speak of, his interview skills were non-existent, and his attempts at manual labor were, well, let's just say he's no handyman. But, to everyone's surprise, he kept at it. Alex was a godsend, guiding him through the basics of being a functional adult. Kate and I watched from the sidelines, half amused, half astonished. We had our share of bets on when he'd give up, but he didn't. He managed to land a job at a local store thanks to Alex's relentless coaching. It was entry-level, far from the glamorous life he was accustomed to, but it was honest work. The real shocker came during a family dinner, a rare occasion these days. Heise, looking more humble than I've ever seen him, actually apologized. To us, to our parents, even to the table for good measure. He talked about how hard hitting rock bottom was and how much he's learned in the past few weeks. Kate and I were stunned into silence. Our parents were in tears, talking about forgiveness and family. It was all very touching, albeit a bit dramatic for my taste. But here's the kicker. While I'm cautiously optimistic about Heise's new attitude, I can't help but wonder if this change is for real or just another one of his performances. Only time will tell, but for now, I'm keeping my guard up. After all, drama never sleeps in this family, and I'm just waiting for the next episode. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit the golden child's baby after he disowned me for being adopted? Ada. For refusing to babysit the golden child's baby after he disowned me for being adopted? I, 20 femme, was adopted when I was 16 by my half-brother and his wife, who were in their late 30s at the time. They already had 6 children when they adopted me, but it was never an issue. They have treated me like their own kid since they met me and later adopted me. So did all their other kids. Except for one, their golden child who is only 4 months older than me. We will call him Chad. Chad has always been an insensitive asshole to literally everyone, including our other siblings. He would literally fistfight our older sister, say horrible and mean things to everyone, and get away with it. He also had extreme anger issues that would case broken doors, holes in walls, etc. He also got to do everything me and my sister were never able to do, got a free car, go out at night, ECT. When we were still in school together during high school, he got up in front of our whole class year and told everyone I wasn't his sister and never would be. He then told me in front of his friends that I would never be a part of his family, and I should just get over it, and walked off. This was not a one-and-done thing. He would keep doing this up until he moved out, and I stopped seeing/talking to him. Golden Boy once again got the limelight of the family after he got married right after high school, moved out to his wife's family's house, and then had a baby, the first grandbaby. Since this has happened, I have stayed as far away from him as possible, only seeing him for family pictures every year because our mother asks. Recently, I decided to come forward to our mom about what he said and did, because she was upset about how I was distancing myself from him. She basically pulled the "that's still my kid and it's my first grandbaby" card as the reason she wasn't going to be upset over it. I didn't really care, to be honest. I knew it wasn't going to change her mind on her kid anyway. Out of nowhere, I got a message begging me to come to babysit for them because you're the only one who can deal with these kinds of babies because no one will help. Apparently, they are weaning their kid off of breastfeeding, and the baby is extremely clingy because of that. And the fact that the mom is a germ phobia who has basically isolated this kid since birth, it literal has only been held by like 6 people since it's been born. They know I don't sleep for the most part because I'm an insomniac with ADHD, and I also am not bothered by crying. For some reason, I can sit for hours with the baby crying and it doesn't bother me. Can't tell if that's a blessing or a curse at this point. My sister is mad at me because apparently they haven't asked anyone else in the family for help but me, and everyone wants to go see this baby. Am I the asshole for not wanting to be around or take care of the baby because its father said that I'm not a part of his family? Update. Chad had burned the bridge for the last time. I want to say this. I read everyone's comments and it made me feel much better knowing my feelings on this whole situation are valid. I wanted to give an update that most of you may not like. After I posted, I ended up talking to 2 of my friends from high school. They were actually there during multiple occasions when Chad Public said all that stuff. I talked with them for a little while. One of these friends actually came over almost weekly when I was still living at my parents' home, so she firsthand understands my family. We talked and we all mutually agreed. I go this once, see if we can't mend things. If not, I can tell my mom and sister I tried, and we are done with the whole thing. And if the whole negative thing with my family keeps up, I will cut them off for good. So I accepted to go babysit. I went over to Chad's house around 8 p.m. As soon as I showed up, I was greeted by Chad's wife, who was extremely happy to see me. She was tired. You could just tell she had the "I have a 1-year-old" face going on. She talked to me for a few minutes about how happy she was I came over and how she was glad to be going out with Chad. I kind of just listened to her go on and on before she finally got to the baby. Let's call him Seth. She explained to me his night route, feedings, etc. Nothing too big. Then she got to the end where she started going on about how he was having crying fits at night and how he wouldn't get to sleep until mid-morning. I was a little A on that, but all babies have different routes, I guess. She then said they would only be gone about 4 hours and that they would be home around like 12:31 at most. After this, Chad shows up from their room, literally starts talking to his wife, looks at me and then just looks me over for a minute and gives me a small wave and nod before heading out of the house. His wife follows and simply tells me to call or text if I need anything. For a minute, I was just stunned but went to work to see Seth, which was odd because it was my first time seeing him in person and not in the photos that are hung around our partner's house. In person, he is the cutest little baby ever. He was fine the whole time, and he only cried because there was no one in the room, not because of the weaning. By this time, it was around 11:30, almost 12. I would check the clock every few minutes just to see what time it was. 12:30 rolled around and I'm like, should I text them? And I'm like, no, let me give them another few minutes until I need to text them. I ended up texting both of them at 1, asking where because they did say they would be home by now. I got no reply from either of them. They finally show up at 3 in the morning. I'm livid at this point, not even over having to take care of Seth for a longer period of time, but just because they never texted me back. Like, what if there was emergency or something? They walk into the living room and I'm just like, I texted asking where y'all were and no one answered. And Chad's wife starts saying that, oh, Chad said it was fine and that it would only be an hour more. And I was just like, you know what, it's fine, whatever, Seth is sleeping. She looks at me all weird, and I rolled my eyes, say, it's not the weaning that's making him cry at night. He gets lonely, he's clingy. Just let him know you are in the room when he starts crying, and he will go right back to sleep. I started to walk out with my stuff, as I was right about to walk completely past Chad when I turned around and was like, so you aren't going to say anything to me? After I looked after your kid for like 7 hours now? He snorted at me and was like, no, my wife is the one who talked me into this anyway. Pissed off at this point, I said, so this wasn't, I don't know, possibly a way to be able to apologize for high school, or maybe all those other times you decide to outcast me from the family? Because I was under the impression that maybe you want to patch things up because of you asking me of all people to watch your kid. He sat there for a minute and just said, why should I apologize? Because literally nothing from high school has changed. Man, you really do need to just grow up and understand that me and my wife and aren't going to cater to you like mom and dad did because you're adopted. You ain't our family and you won't ever be. At this point, I just got in my car and left. I ended up texting my mom about all of it thinking she would get it in the morning when she woke up. No, of course she had to be awake. She apparently told Chad's wife about the conversation we had about all the stuff Chad had said and done to me in school. Apparently his wife felt bad because she had an adopted sister too, and felt horrible that Chad had done and said all those things. Apparently mom didn't know about Chad asking about the babysitting thing until now, and she started talking to the wife who is now upset. Apparently she thought Chad would have changed since then, and didn't think he will act the way he did when I left. I told my mom that I'm done with him, and that if something ever happened with Seth, then I would be there, but I was done with them until that happens. Way things are going, I will most likely be cutting my whole family off, because this isn't worth the stress anymore. Update. Mother is now ruining my time with the news of my other brother getting married. So it has been a hot minute since I last updated on the whole Chad situation. It's mainly due to the surprising fact that my family, my mother and sister, not bugging me as much lately. The first day or two after the interaction with Chad was a bit hectic. Both of them were blowing up my phone, trying to get me to talk to them. Mostly my mom just making excuses for Chad and my sister trying to basically just tell me to get over it. I ended up telling the both of them in text and over the phone that I was over it, and I would be cutting myself off completely from Chad and his little family. This sparked some anger, but my mother soon went quiet and later my sister. Everything seemed to be going pretty good after that for a while. That was until a week later when my sister showed up unannounced at my apartment, demanding that I take the blessing of getting to be around Chad's sheltered child when no one else seemed to be able to. Basically acting like it was some huge honor that I was asked to babysit. I almost snapped. I wanted to call her a bitch and to get off my property and not come back because I was just so sick of it, but I didn't. From my doorstep, I told her that if she wanted to see the baby so bad, just go over and see it. It wasn't my issue to deal with, and I slammed the door in her face and watched her leave. It's been radio silent for a while now until earlier this week. I was scrolling on Instagram when I noticed that my oldest brother, the one that I get along super well, and supported me about curing Chad off, his girlfriend of 4 years and the same age as me, are now engaged and posted pictures of the proposal. I noticed the post had been made last week, but no one had told me, not even my mother. I texted my brother's girlfriend asking her about literally everything that was happening. She was surprised because my mother had said she had told everyone in the family about the wedding. She then told me that they would be holding a family meeting at my parents' house to talk about the wedding plans. I said okay. The meeting was for today around dinner time. I showed up and walked into the house and noticed that a lot of stuff was different decoration-wise. My parents had our family photos all arranged around the living room, and a few random frames with multiple small photos in them as well. I noticed that they had replaced multiple small photos of specifically me from the frames and replaced them with now pictures of Chad and his wife, and my older brother and his girlfriend. What were maybe 6 pictures of me on any of the walls, there were now 2, a baby picture of me and my senior high school photo, that are now in the hallway, not even the living room. I ignored it and didn't say anything. After a while, everyone showed up, except for, of course, Chad, who my mom pulled the he wanted to spend time with his baby BS. They all started talking about the people plans of the part, aka people who were going to be key parts of the wedding cast. I tried my best to listen and take in all of what my brother's girlfriend was saying. I noticed by the end of it all, my name was literally never added into any of the main plans. I wasn't mentioned at all for another in the plans. I stated to question why I was there if I wasn't going to be in the main plans of the wedding. I was kind of like, why not just send me an invitation then? I went home and texted his girlfriend asking about what had happened at the little meeting. Apparently, my mother had told her that I wouldn't want to be involved in any of the wedding stuff and that it wasn't my thing. She called me unfeminine and that I wouldn't like doing any kind of bridal stuff because I'm not girly. She then said everything was set in stone now, my older sister is going to be a bridesmaid, and my little sister is to be a flower girl. My little brother will be the ring holder, and my other little brother and Chad will be groomsmen. And apparently my mother also told her that because of what happened with Chad, that I shouldn't be sat at the family table, but at a guest table. I will just be another guest at the wedding. I didn't really say anything back because it hurt. It hurt that my mother would say that about me, that I was infeminine, and that just because I myself didn't do a lot of girly things in my spare time, I wasn't going to be able or enjoy doing something like a wedding or be a bridesmaid. I can't believe she would say that about me. To be honest, I don't know if I'm even going to go. The wedding is scheduled for the end of the year. It sounds stupid and petty, but this hurt me. It hurt that I'm being outcasted, most likely due to Chad once again. And as I am typing this, my sister is texting me about how she is helping plan all the bride stuff. Honestly, I'm going to leave it off at this for right now, because I don't know how to even feel, if you know what I mean right now. In the next day or so, I might update when I feel up to it. Another update. Chad's wife is pregnant again. I don't even know what to say. I didn't expect to update again so soon, but I just got the news from my older brother's fiance. Chad's wife is pregnant again. Update. Slowly trying, but not going great. It's been a minute since I updated. I would say it's because everything is going great, but I would be slightly lying. Things have only mildly gotten better for me since the last update. I have moved even farther away from my parents since the last few updates, in part to hopefully try and start a process of trying to cut them off from my life. This has worked a bit, but not enough to actually make me feel any better. They, mostly my mother, have still decided to take time to bother me and showing up at my new place and only giving me a second of a heads up. There is no update concerning the wedding. I've only gotten an invitation through the mail. I'm not going to try and press it anymore. I'm going to go, but I will most likely leave after the ceremony and not stay to hang out with anyone. Chad's situation has grown only by the fact that, over a group chat, they decided not to have any kind of gender reveal or even a baby shower. They just announced that they are now having a girl. Don't want to be an ass, but Chad's wife stretched the fact that Chad randomly made her get up and go get an ultrasound to find out the gender. She acted like she really didn't want to do it. Apparently, they went to one of those fancy ultrasound places where you get fancy models of the fetus and high-tech ultrasound pics. Chad also announced that he is going to college now and asked for a $1,000 loan, which they gave to him. They have always stretched that they will never loan money to any of their kids. My stomach turned when they happily gave him the money, but they wouldn't lend me $20 for school books when I went to college. They refused to help me get into college. I muted the group chat. I also found out that my sister has possibly outed me to mom. I came out when I was in high school as being bisexual with a preference for women. This didn't go well, to be quite honest, as my mom pulled, "I have a lesbian cousin who is married to a woman," followed up by a homophobic story about how her friend traumatized her in college by taking her to a gay bar, and she got hit on by another female. Not great. My brother fully believes that my love for women is trauma-based because of the abuse I faced from our bio father. My heart was broken when all of this came to the surface, knowing they both truly wouldn't support me. They would only lie to my face about being uncomfortable by my life. I basically promised myself that I would never tell them if I got a female partner, in hopes of saving not only my feelings, but my partner's feelings in the long run. It makes me extremely uncomfortable to think about them looking me in the eyes and believing everything that they told me concerning their feelings about my lifestyle. I fear my sister has told our mom about me dating a female now that I have moved further away from them, something that I never did while in the house living with them. I noticed on my girlfriend Instagram my sister had like one of the pictures of me and my girlfriend. My girlfriend, after hearing all of this, supports me about not posting pictures of us, seeing as she knows that my family follows me on Instagram. My girlfriend has not tagged me in any pictures on Instagram, so my sister had been looking through my friend on Instagram. Not even a week after the photo was light, I had to see my sister in person for something. She started to make awkward comments about my dating life, and if I was seeing anyone, which I only said maybe and left it at that. 2 days later, my mom is showing up at my front door with some store-bought cookies, asking me if there's anything I want to tell her. I brushed her off and didn't say anything. She then left and hasn't said anything else too. Me. A few hours later, my little brother texts me asking if I had told mom about me dating because she is apparently going crazy and about how his dad is just telling her that it's just a trauma response. I haven't told anyone about me dating, so clearly someone told her about me dating, especially the fact that they are bringing up that I'm dating a female. I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point, as I'm trying my best to cut them off. My girlfriend is telling me not to think about it too much and that we can get through it together. I honestly don't know where I would be without her at this point because she's the only one keeping me sane throughout this entire transition. This update isn't anything grand, but it is something. I wish I could fully say that my life is getting better, but it's really only getting better at a snail's pace. At the moment, all I can say is thank you to everyone who has been supporting me throughout all of these updates. Everyone's input has actually made me see how messed up and how wrong my family has been treating me and how I shouldn't be letting them continue to lead my life and invalidate my feelings. I hope to update after the wedding in a few months. Story 3. I, 20M, has two younger siblings, Joe and Jill. They're twins, both 18 and graduating high school this year. Jill is my parents' favorite because they've always wanted a daughter, while Joe is their scapegoat because I guess he's the bonus baby they never actually asked for. I'm mostly better off than Joe, as I'm the oldest grandson from both sides of my family, almost all of whom are just as blatant as my parents are about their favoritism. I felt really bad for Joe, so I did what I could to make him feel less alone. Like when Jill got to go shopping with mommy and daddy, I took Joe skating with my friends. When our parents were too busy watching Jill's kitty pageant, I dragged my best bud to sit through Joe's elementary school musical. Small things like that. It all started as pity moves, but soon my friends pretty much liked Joe better than me, while Jill's princess syndrome got in her head. So now I spend more time with Joe because I simply like him better than Jill. Never said it out loud. But I don't make it a secret either that I prefer not to spend my time with entitled brats. Anyway, like I said, they're graduating soon. They both already had their choice of college, accommodations, etc. Jill's going to a UNI and SF, fully funded by our parents, unsurprisingly. Joe's going to the same uni as mine in Seattle, but different campus just 20-ish minutes away. He got a full ride, which apparently makes him ineligible to get any financial help from his own parents. This is also hardly surprising, so I made some calls to ask around, see if anyone is hiring next fall. I did this while on FaceTime with Joe. I was reassuring him that we'll find him a job that don't suck and pays enough, that he's better off without dad's money anyway because we both know it comes with strings attached, that this way, mom and dad wouldn't be able to stick their noses into his purchases. I got him to feel better about the whole thing and logged off. I guess Jill overheard, because the next day, she sent me text after text demanding I help her find jobs as well because she doesn't want dad nagging her. When I told her, politely BTW, that I don't know anyone in SF, and that she'd get more help from mom and dad, she blew up, saying all these things about me favoring Joe over her, which, yeah, it's true. I love both of my siblings, but I don't particularly like Jill. It's not like she's making herself likable, though, so Ada, update. So here's the juicy update on the drama that's been unfolding since the last time I spilled the beans. After Jill threw her fit about me not helping her find a job in SF, things took a wild turn. Get this, Joe's best friend from high school, Alex, decides to jump into the fray. Alex, who's kind of a genius with computers and stuff, somehow landed a tech internship in SF too. And guess what? He reaches out to Jill offering to help her navigate the job scene there. I know, plot twist, right? Meanwhile, Joe and I were just chilling one evening, planning his move to Seattle, when out of nowhere we get a call from our cousin, Mike. Mike's like the black sheep of the family, always traveling, never settling down. He tells us he's in town and wants to meet up. Now, Mike's always been cool but distant, so Joe and I were both kind of psyched and nervous. We meet up with Mike at this chill little diner downtown. Turns out, Mike's been doing really well for himself, running a startup that's about to go big. He's heard about Joe's situation and offers him a part-time job that can be done remotely. Mike's offer isn't just generous, it's a lifeline. It means Joe can focus on his studies without worrying too much about finances. Plus, it's a gig that actually relates to his major. Jill, on hearing about Joe's new job, goes ballistic. She accuses everyone of conspiring to make Joe's life easier because, in her words, he's the golden boy. The irony wasn't lost on me, given how our parents treated her all these years. But here's where it gets even crazier. During her rant, Jill accidentally lets slip that she's been feeling overwhelmed with the pressure of living up to our parents' expectations in SF. It was a rare moment of vulnerability from her, and it kind of made me see her in a new light. So I did what any big brother would do. I reached out trying to bridge the gap. I told her about the struggles Joe and I faced, how we always wished she was part of our team too. To my surprise, Jill broke down and apologized. She admitted she felt left out and promised to work on being less of a princess. As for the drama, it's still there, but now there's a sense of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we're on the path to becoming a real team, not just siblings forced to share the same last name. And as for me, navigating these troubled waters with a bit of peace and understanding feels like the biggest win. So, yeah, the plot thickens, but this time, it feels like we might just get a happy ending after all.